Welcome, everybody. This is the March 5th, 2026 meeting of the Belchertown Opioid Settlement Fund Advisory Committee. Thanks for everybody's patience. Mother Nature had our meeting canceled in January and then our meeting canceled February. So this is kind of a reschedule. So it's not the typical day that we might be meeting. So I appreciate everybody with their busy schedules trying to squeeze this in so that we can deal with some business in spite of having to have cancellations. So hopefully everybody's at least got an agenda information. I've got copies of some of the background information for the two applications that we're going to talk about today. But why don't we start with just some introductions in terms of, so we have it on the recording as well, who is here, and if you're an official committee member, what community sector or group that you represent on this committee. I'll start with Neil.
Neil Lozier, Sergeant with the Belchertown Police Department, and I am from the Law Enforcement Center.
Excellent. And?
Sarah Avery, I'm the Belchertown Police Intern, a current student at American International College.
Good. Welcome. I hope this is helpful and you'll see how it fits in with the work that you're doing. Excellent. Hey there, how are you? Good, thanks. I'll go through the committee and then we'll go back to you, Emma. We're just doing intros now, so.
Chris Hogue, I am Program Director for Drug-Free Communities and School Representative.
Jill Rossi, I'm the Financial Representative.
Great. I'm Gail Grammarosa. On this committee, I am the community member slot, and I'm currently serving as the chair of the committee.
I'm Emily Kirby. I am the Director of Prevention and Community Health for the town of Ware, and I am the QHSUA seat.
Great. Maureen and Julie, how about if you introduce yourselves so we have it? I mean, say hi.
My name is Julie Butts. I am the Program Director at the Recovery Center of Hope in Ware, Massachusetts, which is a program of the consortium.
Great. Happy to have you. Oh, Maureen, I can't hear you.
I can introduce Maureen. Maureen, yeah.
I know it doesn't look like you're muted, but I've been there, Maureen. It happened to me on a meeting recently. You're not muted, but somehow we can't hear you. Go ahead, Julie.
Maureen Babineau is Program Manager of, I hope I'm getting your title right, Maureen, Peer Development at the consortium. So her and I are both here representing the Recovery Center of Hope in the consortium today.
Great. Thank you. Welcome. We'll see if it works, Maureen. No worries. You know, technology is great when it works. And Emma, introduce yourself.
I'm Emma. I'm the epidemiologist for the Quebec Hill Substance Use Alliance out of the town of Ware, serving 18 communities.
Excellent. And I know we also look to you because you're involved with the Palmer Committee. So that's always helpful to hear what our neighbors are doing with respect to their opioid settlement funds. So great. On our agenda today, we have got some updates and stuff. We do have two applications for requests for funding that we want to address and hopefully take a vote on if we all feel ready to do that for each of those applications. We'll get to that. We've got some updates about other activities going on. And then we will pick our next meeting date and go from there. So welcome everybody, and thanks for, again, rearranging your schedules. In terms of just a couple of quick updates, the first one, at a previous meeting, and I remember we had an email inquiry that came from a for-profit provider of substance use treatment. This is going back a month or two ago, asking whether or not we would ever consider or can, in more general way, can opioid funds be used and provide funding to a for-profit entity. So I just wanted to kind of close the loop on that. I did have conversation via email from the RISE Mosaic people, who are the ones who do all the training and technical assistance for cities and towns. They said, yes, it's not expressly prohibited. It's not very common, because you often have more nonprofit services in any area that you might want to be funding, but it's not prohibited. And should we encounter or have anybody who wants to submit an application and they are for profit, we can certainly talk about it, we can certainly think about it, and we can determine, like we do with any other application, whether we want to recommend funding or not. So that's just a quick update. So far, and even that particular entity, I haven't heard anything back from, so.
They're not located here.
They're not located
Yeah.
here, no,
Yeah.
they were, they have
They're
program,
Yeah.
they're a national group,
Janelle and I think looked it up, right?
yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know.
I know.
This was
No,
months ago,
there's-
wasn't it?
yeah, months
So I
ago,
vaguely
exactly.
remember, 'cause we were
And-
like, they're not
And that was, I mentioned that to the Mosaic people too, that's, I guess I would say it this way, our committee has, and in concert with partners around the region, we've mostly been trying to focus on what's available locally. So a group that, I think this group might have had an office in Springfield, but that was as close as they might get. So
I
anyway,
think part of that too, the person that, I think the title too, I think Joanna talked about too, the title was somebody that was securing financial monies.
right,
Yeah.
So.
Right.
I'm sure a simple Google search may have been opiate settlement fund
Yeah.
committees.
right, exactly,
And since our
exactly, right.
Notes are public record.
Right.
I don't know how Belchertown.
Yep.
came into the radar.
Right. It's a good question. And, I don't blame anybody, nonprofit, for profit, whatever, these dollars are out there. So yeah, absolutely. Anybody can find out more about where are they, who's got those dollars, what have they done exactly, and all of how towns and cities have spent their monies all online too. So you can take a look at, how everybody has spent their money. So anyway, it may never come up again, but I just kind of wanted to close that loop on this issue of a for-profit organization potentially seeking funding. Great. All right, we'll cross that off. If we feel ready, because I wanted to be sure that we had enough people and we have a quorum, we have enough of our official members here. The next two items that I had on the agenda were the two applications that we have received since we last met as a group. So the first one is another application from Honest Beginnings that we have funded and the select board has approved for funding in the past. This is for some renovation of the basement of that facility, their sober home and the living space there. So let me just get a read on the group. If anybody has questions, or do you feel ready to have a conversation and think about voting on this particular application? Everybody got comments, questions?
It's a dollar amount on that.
The dollar amount that they're requesting is $8,900. It's a good reminder, thank you, Neil, for reminding me. Remember, since the last time, we've had some applications that we brought to the select board. Anybody doing any kind of renovation, building, or a capital expense, the select board wanted to see 3 cost estimates, which Honest Beginnings did provide. I will just say, I was struck by the fact that 2 out of the 3 are fairly close to what they're asking for. And then there's a third cost estimate that seems to be more money in terms of, what that estimate was from that particular Campora construction. So I just made note of that in my mind, that the 2 other bids, at least this kind of application, if they were to get what they requested, would cover the entire cost. The other one would probably, if they went with that other bid, it would require them to put in some of their, some additional money for it. But their request is $8,900. Questions or comments about and Jill, you need to recuse, right?
Yes,
Because you're on the
absolutely.
board of directors, right? So we'll make a note of that in terms of discussion and voting. But questions, comments, as people read through it? Seems reasonable, seems feasible. I see some nodding heads. Feel ready to vote on it? Yes? Cool. All right, then if anybody would like to make a motion
Make a
to
motion.
that effect?
I'll second it.
All right, we've got a motion from Emily, right? And a second from Neil. Great. All right, so I've got a motion, I've got a second. Any further discussion? Everybody's ready to vote? All right, then I will ask the official members, and I even made a little chart for myself. So because we were gonna take 2 votes today, I wanted to be sure that I had it right. So I'm gonna vote yes. Emily?
Yes.
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 Chris is a yes. Let me make a note of that. Neil? Neil is a yes. And Jill is an abstention, right? We'll put you down as an abstention. Excellent. Great. All right. So, one question that I have, and I'm happy to follow up with them, and maybe, Jill, you can let me know who to follow up with. When the select board said, get 3 cost estimates, they did not make the rule that you have to go with the lowest one, like you do typically or often, not always, even in town government, you don't have to always go with the lowest bid. So now that we voted to recommend approval for this, maybe between now and when we get to the select board, I don't know if they have a preference for one of these, particularly if it's a contractor they've worked with before. So remind me, Jill, the name of their admin person who.
Cara.
Cara, that's it, Cara. All right, I can follow up with Cara. And just so that we can then give full information to the select board, and they'll know that this particular vendor or contractor is what they would prefer. Again, 2 of them put in estimates that would certainly totally be covered by what we are recommending, the 8,900.
Part of
Okay.
that could also be that the contract is booked for 9 months and the other one only booked for 3 months.
Right,
Yeah.
Or we fix
exactly.
it, Fit it in next weekend or something, you know?
Right,
Which is the consumer, one of the
Right.
important factors.
right. Exactly. Really, really good point. And in fact, I'm kind of glad that I think it makes sense. I think it helps the committee and it helps the select board when this kind of expense is being looked at to have those bids. But you're absolutely right. You know, these days, you know, it's just everybody's demanding of contractors, looking for them. So we'll have a conversation with them. And yeah, it might be based on who can do this most quickly. Particularly of the 2 whose estimates are near what they're requesting. Great. Okay, I will do that. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to put this down as okay. All right. Second application that we're looking at,
It's withdrawn.
it's withdrawn.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because what had happened with that is, it's coming up real quick in March, so we needed to get her registered. So what we ended up doing is just taking it out of our consult line.
Oh, okay.
Out of our own line, out of
your
our opioid funds that we received, we had to do it that way.
Okay.
So $125.
Oh, okay, all right.
You know, we
Well-
we had to do that way,
Okay.
so, you know.
The sponsor wouldn't take and wait for like a purchase order or anything like that? No, I remember your email that.
Well, it's coming up, so
So,
like, even
yeah.
if we approved it today, we'd have to go in front of the select board.
Right.
And it wouldn't have happened in
Okay.
a timely
Yeah.
enough manner because of all the, you know, snow and stuff like
Okay.
that, so we just took care of
Okay.
it ourselves.
All right. Well, thank you for doing that. It sounds like a valuable training
Yeah,
for your, you know, for Michelle.
Yep.
Being involved with both boat and the drug-free community. So hopefully it's, all right, it's a good training and worthwhile. I guess I would say this, I hear what you're saying that, you know, you have to register and all of that. Should there be other trainings that, you know, any of your contacts and people want to go to, I'm happy to entertain applications. All right, so we'll make a note that that one is withdrawn and go from there. All right. All right, let's feel good. We got 2 major things done. Excellent. Perfect. Let me, before we get to talking about the RISE grant and with our partners here from the Recovery Center, anything from the subcommittee? Did a subcommittee have a meeting at all?
we haven't met since our last meeting.
Okay, all right, no worries.
I think we haven't met as a whole group since.
I know, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our last meeting, was it December?
Did we meet in December?
Did we even meet in December?
Yes.
Maybe it wasn't. Did we meet in
Yes,
December? We did,
December,
okay.
and then
Thank you, y'all.
we met in January.
Better memories than me. So January was snowed out, February snowed out, but we met in December. Okay,
And the subcommittee met in early January
in early January.
with Brendan.
Right,
Okay, all right.
that's right.
I know, it's going back.
I know, it's hard. Any updates or anything that you want to bring to this committee or not? You know, if you want to then meet, we'll determine when we're going to meet again in March, because it's already March today. But if you meet again, then we'll get an update from you all between now and then. Okay, great. All right, excellent. All right, I'm going to turn things over to both our online friends, Maureen and Julie and Emily from Town Aware and Quabog Hill Substance Use Alliance to talk about the RISE matching grant.
Thank you. Do you guys want to announce it or do you want me to announce it?
I'm just going to quickly pipe in and tell Maureen is having technical difficulties. So I will be speaking for both of us, just an FYI. And
All
Emily,
right.
you're welcome to announce it and
Sounds good.
add in.
We were approved for the position of a care/housing navigator to split time between Belchertown and Ware. So each town will put in 50K of their opioid abatement funds and RISE matched it. So we have 200,000 to work with. I'm going to submit the final budget today to RISE for them to just look over and ask me any questions if anything needs clarifying. I'm really excited about this. Once they approve that, we can start meeting and start talking about putting together a job description and getting it out there and hopefully getting lots of applications that we can go through. This position will sit underneath the recovery center in Ware. So they will have a home base there and we'll find a home base in Belchertown as well. Hoping that they will be able to also go to the library, sit time in there and just get out into the community and really help people with what they need, with an emphasis definitely on housing. But we also want them to be able to help with like SNAP benefits, any application that's kind of difficult to get through for assistance, help with their rent, down payments on an apartment, transportation, help getting their vital documents updated, or if they've lost them, reinstated. Along with that, I would also say that we should help them because there are so many restrictions on voting now. Your name on your identification has to match your name on your birth certificate. So I think that should also be an emphasis, helping people get registered to vote. And making sure that their documentation is up to date so that they can meet the stricter standards of what needs to be met now for voting. Yeah. Anything you want to add, Julie?
Sure. I think, first and foremost, we're just really grateful for this collaboration with Belchertown. I think it really shows what coordinated community efforts can look like. And I think we all know that housing is one of the most significant gaps in our region. So this care coordinator position will really support in meaningful, just to kind of echo what Emily had said, navigation, and then the support that goes along with housing navigation, which can be so challenging for people. Kind of just touching on the next steps, as Emily mentioned, we have the final budget submitted, and then moving forward, the four of us, Gail, Emily, Maureen, and myself, are going to be meeting on a weekly basis to talk about how things move forward, and we'll get that position posted and keep everybody updated. And again, just really grateful for the collaboration.
Great.
And I would just recommend including Belchertown in the application hiring process and the interview
Yep.
process.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what we're thinking, and whatever other questions, I want to hear questions from other committee members too. That questions, I'm certainly open to questions coming to me if I'm going to be part of this four-way meeting. Absolutely, you folks are welcome to join that, but I agree. The whole, as there was I think we described the job in the application, but now coming up with, a formal job description, in line with how the consortium and the recovery center does their job descriptions. And then that whole process of who's going to apply, And I think, I see both communities and the recovery center getting the word out about this job, letting people know that it's a new position created with this funding, and then in on the whole process to finally determine who is going to be the best fit for the job. Along with that, I know the recovery center will have participants and people with the lived experience who would, be part of that process as well. So that with any luck, I'm hoping, we got fingers crossed that we'll find an applicant and someone for the job who I think is can manage. It's not always easy to be serving more than one town. Many of you know what that's like, to be a part of collaborations where you're serving multiple communities. And I think our group can be really helpful with helping to figure out space for where this person will be. The commitment is half their time in Ware, half their time in Belchertown. What's the best way to use their time? And then what Belchertown resources, could be brought to bear. Who do they need to know if they're not familiar with either town? I'm looking at people like all of you sitting around the table here. Who do they need to go and talk with and meet and find out the lay of the land in both communities?
I think the probation office is gonna be a key.
Yep.
Player with
Yep.
all of this, so, I'm in touch with Kirsty, the chief over
Yep.
there, because we've been working with them.
Yep.
So, I think one of the ideas that we could have is like, if this person comes into our community and like hook up with me, Early, like both of us, we can take them around to all the key players in the
Yeah, meet
community,
with- yep.
because
Absolutely.
we're visible
Yep.
here, so,
Absolutely.
we know everybody and
Yep.
stuff.
I think that's a great idea. Get them acclimated, again, depending on, what they might already know, who they already know. And absolutely thinking about, I think of this position, particularly with the emphasis on housing, that's often people in transition, right? They're coming out of jail, they're in probation, they're
Mhm.
coming out of treatment. They're maybe moving to this area because they need to get away from where their network was not yet in recovery, and they're trying to make a new start. So they're in transition.
Yeah.
So how do we help them know about all that might be available? And I think even in the application, if I remember, we wrote, helping them get some of those basics in place, even food, transportation, like you said, their documents, everything you need. How do you get a sofa for your new apartment?
Yeah, there's
All
some money
those
for
things.
furnishings.
So
there
all
as
of
well.
that, in the course of those conversations, I think that's when, other things, well, what about treatment? What about doctors? What about, medical care, mental health care? Who do you go to? Who do you get hooked up with? What about social activities? What about, make sure you know the recovery center, make sure you know, where's your local hospital? Where's the emergency room? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I think once we hire someone, and obviously everyone will be involved in that process and giving feedback, but once we hire someone, maybe that first week isn't seeing people, it's more exploring, taking half the time in Ware, having someone bring them around, introducing them to the library, to all of the resources there, and then come down here, meet with you. You can bring them around and show them around. In that first week, really just getting their face out there, and without the pressure of meeting people yet.
Right, meeting the right
I think that would be
participants,
beneficial.
right? Yep.
Because I know when you start a job, if you're starting the job, but then also meeting people, it's just, it could be hard.
Right. And, the good news is, here in both towns, lots of resources, lots of stuff on websites, lots of resource guides out there, ways for people to find out. And, I'm thinking about, Emma, your work with Palmer, even though this is where in Belchertown specifically, that everything meshes into every nearby community. So, for folks to know about what resources are there, what collaborations, what kinds of things can help get them settled.
Yeah.
I imagine, where in Belchertown, where in Palmer in some ways, are places that people are looking for affordable apartments as well. Here in Belchertown, a little harder sometimes to, what I hear people get for rent is a little outrageous sometimes. But anyway, thinking about where housing might be in other communities along with where in Belchertown, depending upon what's available and what somebody can can secure. Great. Any other comments, questions about the RISE grant? Very excited. I don't know how many were funded across the state. Maybe we can find out next time around, but I bet it was really competitive. So
They
I'm very
do
happy that.
They
this-
do have them listed on
Do
there.
they?
so-
Yeah.
Is that,
Yeah,
There was
okay.
like 12 to 15, I think.
Yeah.
I know. And
is that
Go
a
ahead.
yearly grant or is it just a one-time right now?
It's a yearly grant, so we could reapply the next time it comes out.
Yep.
The funds are rolling. I don't think there's any real end date to it. They're very flexible. But my hope is that we see how this goes in these two towns and then reapply with even more towns.
Right.
That we could partner with and get like another coordinator involved, Palmer, because I know
Right,
Palmer
right.
didn't get their
Palmer applied
social
and
worker
didn't
through
get
their
it.
library.
Here on the website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm sorry
Yeah.
that that's the case, but yeah, that's one way to think
Yeah.
about it. Go with the matching funds.
Mhm.
As well as looking at, like you said, if there are additional towns,
Yeah.
then the pool of money can grow.
Mhm.
And we can, be sure to look at all those needs.
But have this year be kind of the pilot
Pilot
year,
year,
gather data, see how many people they're helping, and then that will just bolster
Right.
an expansion on it for RISE
Right.
and other grants too. I mean, we don't
Right.
have to just do RISE. We can find other grants
Right.
for this as well.
Yep.
That's my hope. That's my dream.
cool.
All right.
And I guess I would say one last thing, I'm excited at the prospect that, this kind of application was new to our select board. So should there be future opportunities where multiple towns might be collaborating, at least they'll have had the experience and felt comfortable approving this application. So now hopefully they'll be open to the idea of maybe additional multi-community. I get the feeling from both the Attorney General as well as from the RISE and Mosaic and other people looking at all these dollars that they like it when communities collaborate, because of,
Pretty sure that all of them that were funded were partnerships in some way or
in
another.
some way or another.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm wondering if that's partly why Palmer wasn't picked, because they weren't partnering with another town.
As versus a single
Yeah.
town, yeah. As much as a single town can have its own needs.
Yeah.
That they were looking more for those kind of partnerships, yeah. Great.
Seems to be an emphasis on regional.
On regional,
Right.
regional collaboration and getting multiple, more communities, which is not always easy, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Anything else on the RISE grant? We're excited. I just expect, it'll be an ongoing agenda item. We'll just have it in here so we can touch base and see how things are going and where we are as we get ready to get this going. Okay, cross that one off the list. How are we doing time-wise? Next on the agenda was just to check in. There may not be anything to necessarily report, but just wondered if there's anything percolating related to our currently funded projects. Honest Beginnings is still funded for those client fees, the enrollment fees, and the startup expenses for new participants in the program, as well as the Belchertown schools recently funded for the CADCA conference, which happened, I think, last month, and the drug-free. So I just wondered if there's anything anybody needs to update us on.
How was the conference?
What's that?
How was the conference?
CADCA conference.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, so we had 4 youth go and,
Nice.
we, had them do the youth track, which was
Yeah.
really great because they were able to
Excellent.
collaborate with kids across the country.
Country. Nice.
And the workshops were really good this year too. I mean,
Oh,
last year
good.
it was kind of, few and far between because of everything going on with the government. Like Jay and I would go to, a workshop and nobody would be there. We'd be like, what is going on? That didn't happen this year, and really several really good workshops that were out there. One of the ones that I went to actually, it was called the 13th Sector, right?
Oh,
So the
okay.
13th Sector, and Amy Neville actually put that on, who had just been here, with a parent meeting and students. And basically it's about like a adult, a parent or a caregiver that is suffering from substance use disorder.
Mm.
And how do we integrate the children into the recovery program? And so the 13th sector would be that person that is in recovery, the parent or caregiver, and how we are including them within our programming, and getting them the support that they need as a family, which I thought was really interesting.
Cool.
So did some stuff on sustainability, but the youth, one of the things, the last session that we went to was all about alcohol policy, which is something actually we are going to bring the alcohol policy roadshow to the select board.
Okay.
Because we are focusing, we want to focus specifically on a couple policies. The first policy that the youth want to focus on is signage in our community.
Yep.
And specifically, there's a store that is located right next to the schools that is plastered in
with
alcohol signs, and students are uncomfortable going in there. When they do go in there, they're just saturated. There's alcohol all over the place. So that's one of the policies I know our youth want to tackle. And so we know that, with our youth voices, those are the strength, especially when it comes to policy and them coming in and testifying and standing up and saying, hey, this is affecting us and this is why, we want this to happen. So we are going to have them put together a statement. However, it might not happen until a little bit later now because the students are presenting in front of the select board April 6th. And it was supposed to be earlier, so the roadshow probably won't be until later than that now. So it'll get there,
No worries.
but
Give them.
Yeah.
I imagine they're doing this, give them time to also look at some samples of policies.
Right.
Certainly for the select board and then for all the legals in town who have to review any policy that gets voted on. Looking at other people's examples that have already been approved and might be working well in terms of that signage.
Definitely seems important according to what Neil gave you.
Yeah.
This is
and then the other thing is,
A lot of
on
alcohol.
Wednesdays, they did go to Capitol Hill Day.
Oh,
And so,
okay, great. When they were down
we meet
there.
as a group, Massachusetts group, the night
Yep.
before, the entire Massachusetts youth get together. And then we, the youth come up with their own testimony.
Good.
Like, they don't
Excellent.
just step back and the youth talk about
Yep.
what they want to talk to everybody about. We kind of said, talk about funding.
Yep.
So that was they slipped that one in there. So our youth met with Richard Neal's
Excellent.
assistant.
Yep.
And they testified and talked about, they talked about some local issues, but then, switched gears into the funding issues and the bigger issues that are out there that are affecting them. Flavored tobacco, basically, they were like, okay, well, it's not in Massachusetts. They'd like to see it as a national thing, and kids are still getting it off the internet, and they're talked about digital well-being as well, social media, that type of thing. And then we met with Elizabeth Warren's aide as a
Nice.
Massachusetts group. So then,
Nice.
5 youth, they picked 5 of them, and each person had one specific thing that they were talking about. And the kids, they did a great job.
Excellent.
I mean,
It's
is
a great
so
experience for them.
exciting for them.
It's very exciting.
And then the day before we went to CAPCA, they went to the 84 chapter leadership summit in Worcester. So, our kids are really involved,
Cool.
on a national, not just national level, state and national level now.
Excellent.
One of our youth did get COVID before we went, so couldn't go. But is a leader
Right.
for the 84 chapter. So when they do enough day, like, she's a leader for the 84 now, which I think is great. Our students are just getting so involved. But again, it's about being present in the community and being present for them.
Great. Excellent. As we had all hoped when we recommended it, and thankfully the select board said yes, that was a good investment of those dollars, right? To send people down to that conference outside of Washington. The opportunity to see your Congress people and your US senators and their aides and their staff, and this is real. This is where this decision making happens. And the good news is thankfully, all of our Massachusetts folks have always been very supportive of the drug-free communities grant funding wise, so that's good. Very appreciative of that, so cool.
I think I just got an email from CACA this morning about,
Yeah, they'll be presenting in front of the school committee as well.
Oh, okay, great, excellent. That was
this
part of,
DFC funding opportunity is now open.
is it open again? And you all submitted your,
We already did.
you
ours,
did, yeah, there's 2 rounds of it this year.
Yeah.
The February deadline and then there's another round of it.
Yeah, we
Right.
already.
Okay, and you'll find out
By June
June,
1st.
right, because it's a July 1.
Yeah.
It's turning into a July 1.
But you guys are at the end
start.
of yours, aren't you?
July 1.
Yeah, I just knew
It's
that
starting
you
with-
had to,
yeah,
I just knew
instead
you
of
had
the
to apply for year 6, so I wanted to make sure you knew that it opened.
Oh, we already, yeah.
They did
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
round, yeah, yeah.
I forgot.
No worries. I know, it's a weird thing that they had 2 rounds, because I was still in conversation with the Ludlow Coalition that thought about it and decided based on some of the requirements that were in the thing, they decided they weren't gonna apply this time around. But yeah, then there was a
Yeah.
second round that came out that was weird.
There's all
It
that
was-
But you'll
stuff with
start then,
government too. government
hopefully when
shutdowns.
you're funded, it'll be a July 1 start instead of
Right.
what had been the
Yeah,
September.
our contract's gonna have to change.
Yeah.
too.
Right, so there may be some changes. We'll take a look. When we get there, take a look at it and see what needs to happen.
So as far as drug-free communities is concerned, if we don't get the drug-free communities grant again, then we're gonna have to reapply,
Yep,
right? So, in the meantime, I'm gonna hope that we're getting the drug-free communities grant.
right.
And, in the meantime, so we should be putting together the, other part of that application where.
Yep, the additional money that has
Yes.
been provided, yes, I would say.
So I'll do that like before our next meeting,
Okay.
just to have it ready.
And do that maybe with that July 1 start. So then everything's in sync with your potential additional money from opioid dollars and hopefully your base funding from DFC.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Okay,
That makes sense. And in the event, let's hope, I say at every meeting I go to, things can be very unpredictable these days at the federal level. And the best applications that are out there, sometimes don't get funded. Then by all means, think about coming back to this group for the base funding and then thinking about any additional. But the select board has said repeatedly, they're very supportive of the prevention work that's being done in the town. So anyway, so let's hope federal money comes through and then top it off with some additional money from opioid funds. Great. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that the students had a good time and learned a lot, it sounds like, and can apply it. Also really glad to hear that you're thinking about alcohol policy. Because I think that's important. All right, great updates as to what's going on with our currently funded projects. Just checking in with Jill, our accountant. Any word on any of these new monies? Not yet. They're still in
No.
process. Purdue and the other one. It always takes a while before
Yeah,
that
before
starts
they-
to flow.
Yeah.
All right, so when we see it,
was
That-
there any, I know it's kind of off topic, but, wasn't there any like settlement money from Jewel or something like that, raping? Was there some,
I can't,
heard-
is it still in process or did it
must still
happen?
be in process, because I haven't heard anyone getting money from it.
Right,
But
I mean,
I
is that going to the state or is it coming to the municipalities?
don't know.
that's a really good question.
That's what I was wondering too,
Or is it gonna be distributed?
because that was a while ago.
I know,
Yeah.
right? That was a while ago that they may have come to an agreement. So that's a really good question. If it's gonna go through the state, my guess is it's the state attorney general who was part of the lawsuit. So check with Attorney General Campbell's office. If there's money coming from this vaping, the harm you caused from vaping kind of settlement, it probably is gonna flow through her office. And then they might do what they do with the opioid money is figure out a formula for getting it out to
Mhm.
towns. But start with that.
Yeah, I'm
If
just curious.
if
about
they're
that.
not getting it, who else would get it? The state health department? I don't know where because this is a vaping nicotine addiction kind of settlement. I don't know where it would go, but likely it may follow that state and then money flows to local. I don't know.
And then the Stop That grant is coming out,
Okay.
I think in March, I thought I heard, but I don't know. You guys heard anything about that?
Emily, do you know where Stop's at?
I haven't heard about the new application or anything like that, but we're in year 2 of
You're in
ours,
year 2
2
of
of 3, so.
Yeah.
2
2, isn't 4?
5 or 4.
Sorry, I'm thinking about the new chip application that we're doing 3 years for that. I think Stop is 4 years.
Traditionally, it has
It's
been,
been
but
4
it might
years.
be changed, but traditionally it has been a 4-year
Yeah.
grant with current and former drug-free community grantees eligible to apply.
Yeah.
So that's
we-
certainly
We
maybe
are
one
going
thing
to
to look
apply
at.
for that this year,
Mhm.
so I'm gonna look at it and,
Yep.
I'll hit you up if I need help.
Okay. Sounds good.
It doesn't look like there's anything new about the Juul,
Nothing about Jewel,
And
so
on-
still,
the Attorney General's office lawsuit against Juul. They filed it in
this is our,
2020.
this is
Yeah,
our
it's been a long
local,
time.
yeah.
And they're just saying she was the first Attorney General to announce an investigation, and then they just have the complaint and all the exhibits.
Okay.
So I don't think anything's.
So still
Yeah,
working
years
its way. That's 6 years. Wow. Well, sometimes legal
Mhm.
stuff takes a while, right?
And I wonder if it's like, they need more proof of harms still.
Maybe.
It's a
Because
good
the
point.
science is still.
Yeah.
Like, it's clear, but
That's a good,
you'll know
a good
it's
point.
hard to get settlements against opioid
Right.
manufacturers.
Right.
True.
Right. You're right, Emma. That's true. And I, I'm no lawyer, no legal by any means, but the file and then the appeal and then
Yeah.
present your case and then go to a higher court and do all that. So yeah, it could take a while. But it's really good to keep an eye out for it because obviously for your prevention work
Mhm.
and yours and QHSUA would be monies to think about,
Mhm.
related to that type of nicotine addiction and prevention. Cool. All right, I just got a couple more things on the agenda to check in on. Just since the last time this group met, 2 of our current select board members, Jen Turner and John Ritter, just reached out to me and said they wanted to have a conversation more about, where things were at with the opioid funds. And a thought that they had related to some other initiatives going on in town where both a group called the Creative Economy Committee and the Communications Committee and the Belchertown Cultural Council are all working together to think more about arts and cultural activities, both in town as well as in supporting and helping people learn about arts and cultural activities outside of town. And they were asking whether opioid funds could be used for that. And I said, well, probably not for just the general public, but I wanted to let them know, and I told them that we had had initial conversation about this art pharmacy program. We had the people from I think it was the national level who we met with, but we never did hear directly from the folks from the town of Franklin out in the southeastern part of the state who are doing the art pharmacy program. So I just told both Jen and John that I would bring it back to this committee. I know that we had said we would table it for a while, but I just wanted to check in if there's any interest in hearing about how a municipality does it. And at a future meeting, inviting the people from the town of Franklin to come. It doesn't have to be right away, doesn't necessarily, nothing urgent, but I just let them know that I would bring it to this group. And if we wanted to think about inviting Franklin down the road, that they would also, I could invite them to learn more about how that program works.
So how
Thoughts?
would that intertwine? I might have missed it because I'm writing
Yep.
too. How would the art pharmacy intertwine with what they're looking for?
Good question. I don't know that it's totally articulated just yet, but the idea that there might be more cultural events that are brought to town, arts and cultural and performance type events that might be the kind of thing that, an art pharmacy kind of program would look at, as well as collaborating. They talked a lot about trying to do more collaboration with UMass and some of their music and theater and arts programs and performances, some of which have a cost, some of which are free and open to the UMass community. But there has been some conversation about Belchertown in general trying to collaborate and work more closely with UMass. So I think it's more of a concept at the moment. I don't think it's necessarily fully articulated, but I guess I wanted to be clear with them that in terms of opioid funds, we can't just support general, let's bring a concert to Belchertown for the entire community. The art pharmacy program is probably the way that we would have to think about, persons in recovery, persons impacted by opioid use. But that could potentially, boost the number of people who go to an event or who, another group to promote it to.
I was under the guise that the art pharmacy program was individualized.
Yeah.
That was one of the things we
So,
talked
I mean,
about,
it doesn't,
right.
it sounds like kind of a stretch.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Because we have talked about the
Yeah.
art pharmacy
we
program.
did.
And,
Right.
with a person that's in recovery, yes, we could support them doing these types of things, but you can't really bring it into a community and be like, oh, art pharmacy, oh, we're gonna support this person over here that's not in recovery or
Yeah.
anything. It just doesn't, it does not mesh. So,
Okay.
I mean, it's not part of prevention,
Right.
treatment, recovery. It doesn't meet the
Well,
prongs.
right, but I guess what I'm thinking is that if there were art pharmacy, those individual members might be part of the audience that is a broader kind of program that's going on. Art pharmacy is not just people in recovery go to that theater performance.
Mhm.
Art pharmacy is 5 of us in recovery are going to that theater performance with art pharmacy paying the price. You're right, it's individualized.
It's individualized, so we couldn't say somebody from the general public,
No, yeah, no, yeah,
we can't do
definitely.
that.
It would have to be people like.
You know,
from us.
how this would cross over,
Exactly.
I don't
Okay.
see how that
Yeah.
could happen, but
No, you're
we
right, we
can
talked about
look
that.
at it
Right.
more. I mean,
Well, I said to Jen and John, we had talked about it before, we didn't prioritize it, we've got other priorities. I'm happy to think about inviting somebody from Franklin a little down the road. Maybe the other initiatives within the town. There's gonna be a big summit later this month where there's gonna be a lot of conversation about, improving the, life in Belchertown.
I did
So maybe we
represent,
hold off.
I did represent us at that first summit
Oh, okay, all
and
right.
both, so
Great.
just FYI.
So yeah, that's coming up 14th, right? Saturday, the 14th.
But I think something like if they're looking into bringing some type of culture into
Mhm.
town, like, doing something like, some type of theater project or
Yeah.
something
Mhm.
around recovery,
Yeah.
like, for example, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like something that would be out there, city, what is that thing, in Worcester, the, recovery city?
Oh,
Like,
Yeah.
okay, so for example, you're gonna bring Recovery City into Belchertown and show the documentary, and then show the documentary and then have a panel of people, experts that are gonna be
Yeah.
up there talking.
Okay.
That would be something that would cover,
Right.
because it has to do with,
Right, but remember, in our pharmacy, the content doesn't have to be about recovery. We can go see South
well, yeah,
Pacific
I'm just
as a
saying,
musical if we want, as part
I'm
of
saying
it.
not art pharmacy, because art
Yeah,
pharmacy
right.
is individualized, but I'm saying like, if the cultural council, all
Then
those
they
other,
could
if they
apply.
wanna bring something
Gotcha.
in, it needs to be related to something that has to do with
substance.
this.
If it's not.
So
our
that's what I'm
pharmacy.
saying, like if they wanted to bring
Okay.
Recovery City in, or if they
Right.
wanted to bring in, I don't know, speakers about something, or
Yeah,
programming around something, I mean.
my guess is they would look to others to do that rather than just bring in a thing about recovery, but I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
Okay,
Or like,
well-
there could be like a guarantee that like they bring in some cultural event and there is like through opioid settlement money, like a specific number of seats.
Seats,
guaranteed to, like,
guaranteed,
folks in
right.
recovery,
Right,
something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
All right, so what I'm hearing then maybe is, we had talked about our pharmacy. If we're gonna bring the Franklin people in, there's no urgency. It can go a few months down the road. I'll let Jen and John know that. And then let's see what the town comes up with in terms of what their goals and objectives might be around some of that. Does that make sense? In the meantime, I totally agree with you that cultural council or any other group, who wants to bring in some kind of program could certainly think about whether opioid funds, pay the cost of those kinds
And
of
if we
things,
collaborated
depending on what they
together,
are. Right.
like, for example, because my wheels are always turning. For example, like if they have Food Truck Friday, right? So if they have Food Truck Friday, maybe they have like, the bands on the common are people like recovery bands.
yeah.
Okay.
Or you have an open mic, like speaking, open mic, people in recovery speaking, or people, and it doesn't have to be that, it could be anybody
Anybody.
open, but you could mix those two together
Okay.
and then we could,
Yep.
Yeah.
help fund some
Sure.
things, but it can't just be a standalone.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like
I would-
workshops
go
too,
ahead.
if they
Yeah.
did workshops, like,
Yep.
so we, in our application to the Department of Mental Health, we included some prevention programming around children and their caregivers. So if they could do like a workshop where they bring the parent and the caregiver and the child in together to foster strengthening family relationships, that could be something considered prevention that we
Right.
could do.
Right.
But or like we are working on with the Mass Cultural Committee or whatever it's called. There's too many acronyms. And they're working with youth at the Ware High School to create their own play, and they're going to be putting it on in a couple months. That could be considered prevention,
Right.
Mhm.
working with youth. So we could do stuff like that. But,
Yeah.
Yep. Well, what I would ask you all to think about, especially those of you who might have more contact than I do with some of these groups, that, both the in-house Belchertown groups, but any other groups that, you're in contact with, I'm thinking of like Workshop 13, that if they're open or thinking about doing anything that might be supportable by funds, then absolutely share the application with them and see what they think.
I know they've been very busy because they're moving their pottery studio into the mill building.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Wow. Ooh, that's a big
So
deal.
they're gonna have a lot more room.
Yep. Wow. Cool. All right. So that's what I'm hearing.
I'm just thinking you see me.
Yeah.
I'll get back to the two select board members. We'll think about Franklin down the road. I'll try to reach out to the person who's on their website, and we'll go from there. Great, thank you. All right, we're getting close to 11. Any update on the town, what the web pages on the town website?
There's
We're
no
good?
update. I would love to have all of us just take a look and see
Okay.
what we could add or what, just make suggestions.
Okay, cool. And then maybe email you and just, that'd be great. I haven't looked at it in a while myself,
haven't
I know,
either.
so. Take a look, especially any new resources, anything new that maybe you know about, we could get that on there. Cool.
Right, when we get a new person through the RISE grant, we can.
At them.
Yes, exactly. Put that up
Like
there,
that.
exactly how to contact and where they might be. Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Great. Just a little administrative thing, because it's all the way back in January, which we're all trying to forget about January. That the annual town report that's given out at the annual town meeting, which is going to be May 11th, our committee submission was done. I pretty much updated what we wrote the year before, who we had funded, all of that. If those of you who come to our annual town meeting, they made it look prettier. Have you seen it? They made it look nice. The parts that are about the committees, and I got the final draft. I haven't seen it. I got our draft back and it's, our names are in color and it's nice. It looks good. Anyway, so it's in there. We did our due diligence for the year and it's in there as our official committee report. Cool. I don't think Lauren is with us, right? I don't see Lauren online. Lauren from Hampshire Hope and our regional group stuff there. So I don't know that we have anything. I'll send it out to you all I think, wait, I've got it in my calendar because I'm going to be on a panel. Hampshire Hope is doing what they're calling a lunch and learn for various, I think it's maybe, it might even be statewide, about what local communities have done in a mini grant, as we have done in a grant making process. Emma, you're on it as well, right? You're gonna, what date is it? Do I remember that?
It is, nope, that's the wrong one. That's the 20th.
20th, March
Yeah,
20th, so
there's gonna
Friday?
be- Yes.
Okay.
At noon. So there's 3 representatives, you from here, me from Palmer, and a gentleman from North Attleboro.
Anyway,
Friday the 20th at noon.
and it's all Zoom, right? It's a Zoom
Yes.
thing. So,
I can forward it.
oh, great. Emma, if you could forward it to folks, that'd be great. Just as an aside, for that meeting, the representative from North Attleboro included just kind of a list of the kinds of things that they've been funding in their community. It's, the money is housed sort of with their health department. Their health department advises city government on how to spend the money. But a lot of it sounded very similar to us, some prevention stuff, maintenance and renovation of some sober housing in their home, some stuff around enrolling into programs, paying the fee, sort of like a scholarship to get into a program if there were some costs that were barriers. So I was struck by the fact that it had some similarity to some of what we funded. Great. All right, so anything else on that? Jill, I wanted to give you an opportunity if you wanted to say anything about where we are financially, because I think we're in good shape, even with the RISE grant, but anything you want to note about where we are with our dollars?
So the unreserved balance, that means the money that's here that we actually have in hand versus what all of the awarded approved projects.
Right.
The balance is $148,000, $148,640. With that, I mean, we will get additional funds each year. I think we do have one more payment coming this year.
This
fiscal year.
Fiscal year, okay, cool.
I don't know when Purdue's starting.
Yep.
Annual payments are in the 80s for a couple years, 60s in 28,
Okay.
and then into the 90s. So, and then it kind of goes downward from there into
Okay.
2039, with
Okay.
the last being like a $33,000.
Okay.
So we do have a good amount more to come, but it's not going to be the big years, like
Right.
the beginning years were, the first
They
year
were
was
kind of,
154, the
front
second year
load.
was 178,000.
Yep.
So, some of it was front loaded.
Yep, okay. As
So
I,
the,
go ahead, go
the
ahead, Bruce.
50 grand matching hasn't come out yet, right?
It has.
Oh, it
It
did.
has, yeah,
RCH.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
Yep.
Okay,
yeah, thank you
Yes.
for,
thanks.
probably,
Yeah, no,
you
please tell
would,
me if
No,
I
no.
missed, you think I missed anything.
you got it, yeah. I was glad that you kind of set that aside even before we knew about the grants,
Yeah.
like, yeah, set that so that we had an idea of
Well,
what,
That's good.
It was approved.
it was
so
approved, right, exactly.
It went in my approved list.
There you go. Perfect. I'm also thinking, and it'll be, down the road, whether or not the quarterly payments for Honest Beginnings, if they want to reapply when
Yeah,
they get to the end of
there's
their
one
first
more.
year, one more payment, yeah.
Probably May.
Okay,
will-
okay.
Will be the last payment.
And
So
that's
we'll-
certainly up to them. Check in with them and see if that's been working and if
Mhm.
that's helped with the client enrollment and the startup expenses for the new participants in their home there, the house. Great. And then we'll find out more about drug-free communities in the near future, hopefully too. Great. Any other questions on where we stand money-wise, bank account-wise? Hoping that the wheels of the settlements for the Purdue and others, keep moving and that we see all towns see that money at some point in the not too distant future. But we're also, I think, not in too bad of shape. Great.
Right.
All right, last thing on my agenda, well, two quick questions. I had kept having it on the agenda about our priority goals and plans, and we had the applications. We missed a couple of meetings because of the weather. One question I have is for next month's meeting, or whenever it is, later this month or next month, do we want to have a meeting where we spend a chunk of time back on that overdose support program? The idea of a fund, like we talked with Boston and the Halo program. I feel like that was a priority, but we haven't met and we had some applications and other things to deal with. So do we want to just allocate a chunk of time to talk more about that? Is that still?
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
I think so.
Again, this North Attleboro program had the same thing. They had a program,
Right.
money set aside. Here's what you can apply for it as an individual or a family for it. Funerals and other things included. So, all right, we'll just allocate a bunch of time to maybe check in on that.
We might want to talk to them about how they set that up.
How they set that up, yeah, the
Yeah.
North Attleboro person. Yeah, he's on the email chains that we've been getting for the lunch and learn. So yeah, maybe follow up with them. All right, because we had a special meeting, I'm just wondering if we're gonna meet again in March, and if so, do we wanna go for that last, there's 5 Mondays in March. Do we wanna go for that last one? Do we wanna boot to April? How do we wanna do our next meeting as a full committee? And again, I went back to the Mondays because that's what we had been doing. Today's was just a special meeting on a Thursday.
Either work for me, the 23rd or the 30th.
Preference, anybody? Does that feel like
I
long
would
enough?
prefer the 30th if we can.
Okay,
It doesn't mean that I can't do the 23rd.
I can do either.
I can do either. I can do either. All right, 30th it is. Emma, good for you, 30th? All right, so we're going with the 30th. That's a little less than a month. And then we'll go back to our April, we've been meeting either the 3rd or the 4th Monday of the month, so. All right, cool. Last but not least, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All right,
Second.
Emily. Was that you, Jill, seconding? All right, Emily motion. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting? It is about 11:06. Aye. All right, we are good to go. All right, thanks, everybody. Maureen, I'm sorry you had technical difficulties, but good to have you, Julie. And we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Bye, guys.